Hey, what's up everybody? Rob here from Ram Studio Comics. Welcome back. So in today's video, I want to share a little bit of this artwork with you, but also I want to talk to you about the quick shape tool inside of the app Procreate. So this shape tool has gotten better with revisions and or updates to the app, and it's really beneficial for doing things like, you see I did the power effect there that Doctor Strange has, and there's lots of little details. I actually used it quite a bit, and I'm going to show you a couple ways you can use this. I obviously used it for the distorted shapes in the background. So let me talk to you about how you can use this and how it's very beneficial for lots of portions of your comic work. So this is obviously ready to start inking, or maybe not obvious too, but I'm ready to start inking this. So what I'm going to do is actually drag this blue layer to the very top like this. Set that to screen mode. It'll blue line everything below it. I can add a layer over top. Now generally I'll make a copy of this to start inking or whatever, but it's not a big deal. I can always edit a section out if I don't like it, but what's happening, it's also recording everything that I do, which is fantastic. But as I ink over top of this, let me show you how the inking process and drawing process, everything is just so great. I'll make sure that you can access my brushes and a link in the description box below if you want to try them out. A lot of people have said they really enjoy the brushes that I created for this app. And it's free unless you want to donate something, so you just get them from my Gumroad. But anyways, so you get your traditional way of inking where you're going to get your brush to react the way that you want it to for the scale that you're working at, and you're going to do your tapered lines, thick to thin, or whatever you're after. So that's one way, right? So you're going through and you're just trying to establish some variation the way that you create your lines, and a little bit of stylization, whatever. Remember, a 3-finger swipe back and forth erases the layer but keeps the layer there. So let's just jump right into the quick shape feature and why it's so darn cool. So originally, if I'm recalling this right, the one that you had from the start was this quick line creation. So you could drag a line, and I've spoke about this in different videos. You can taper the line, doesn't have to be perfect, and you just simply hold and then eventually it will snap. So you could go like this and it's going to snap to a straight line. You could drag that and let go. Works really well for perspective drawing. Again, you can do a very thick to a very thin line and it's still going to retain that information, that tapered effect. So lots of great ways to utilize that in your own work. Then recently, and I want to say this came with the 4.2 update, forgive me if I'm wrong, but they also made it to where you could draw a curved line, hold, and it would snap to a curve. So for instance, if I need to ink this and I'm not good at pulling a curved line, I'm not going to lie, I'm actually pretty good at it without this. But maybe you're not. Maybe you haven't got to that point yet. I've been inking for a long time. So I generally can get a line pretty close to what I'm looking for. But look how if you just hold that, it snaps, it smooths the line. And it may take a couple tries because generally what's going to happen is, you got to remember that a curve is different based upon where you start, where you stop. So if I maybe do a different stopping point, if that makes sense, it's not going to immediately line up. Now, obviously, I didn't start from the right point. So say I start here and I go past it. Then the curve may change because I went past it. See that? So now what you do have to do, and this may actually improve your ability to do this over time. I don't know what happened there. Let me try that again. Is you have to be pretty close. And then look at that. I mean, with some practice, you'll get it. You'll get to where you can snap it right where you need it each time. Now, obviously, we still have the ability to edit the shape. This is new as well. So you could tell it to be an arc. You could also grab these, I call them Bezier handles because I came up on a vector art background. So I always consider any control point like a Bezier handle. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but they're control points nonetheless. 2-finger tap on the screen to undo and go back. So now let's try it again. And let's say we need to drop in these circles. So circles before were a big problem. You had to have like a shape brush. And you can see I'm pretty good at drawing perfect circles. Not really. So focus on drawing the circle end to end and keep in mind, I haven't lifted the pen off the canvas the entire time. So what allows me to do is now pull left and right, up and down, not left and right against the canvas and change that circle size. I can also click edit shape. I can go with an ellipse or a circle. A circle is going to correct it even more. So what happened is, since I already had a circle in place, I was able to be pretty close. But if you look again, I was actually creating an ellipse. So I'll do this again. I'll go all the way around, make sure you connect that point. So that's an ellipse, and I can change that ellipse as I go, but obviously that's not what I'm looking for, so I can go edit shape, circle, and now I can do one of two things. I can either grab these, which would allow me to distort them, and again, this is better for ellipses, wheels on a car. You'll see I'll use it for the power for Doctor Strange there, or I can go back and I can go to circle, and I can now drop that point selection with the main select tool, and I can now distort this as I need to. So remember, if you want to keep your circle, you're going to go to uniform, and you can rotate it, which why would you rotate a perfect circle? That doesn't make any sense. But then you can scale it like this. You can also grab each one of these points, you click and hold, and you probably have to be on freeform at this point. Click and hold, and you can distort this again to get certain types of ellipses. Say you want to illustrate an egg. So there you go. Bam, instant egg. You can taper and distort by again, you have to click and hold these points. If you just grab them, it'll kind of scale it like this. But if you click and hold it, you can distort just the one point. So just be aware that there's a difference there. Okay. So again, click and hold, and I can distort that and transform that into place. Now you can also liquefy these shapes, which is a whole nother bag of kittens, I guess, but we're not going to worry about that right now. This is going to be more just on the quick shape tool. I want to show you how this can really benefit you in a lot of different areas. So let's say that we're working on the cape now. So we've already established how we can get our perfect circles, our ellipses, but I want to show you something before we jump over to the effects and the power there, what I was able to do with the cape. So for instance, again, I'm not trying to brag, but if I try to, I can generally do these lines without the tool. And I think that that's every artist's goal, is to just get to a point where they don't need the assistance of these tools. And you can see that's actually not perfect, but I also compensate by zooming in, and I very much get into a zone with this. So at first I kind of make these mistakes. You probably know if you've watched me ink on the channel, and then all of a sudden I'll kind of find my rhythm and brush size, and then I'll start to pick up speed and be able to get the lines that I want. So that being said, there's also times when if you're not getting it right and you've got these tools in front of you, why not use them? So one of the things that you can do here is you can actually draw, you can't really do a compounding curve. So let me show you what I mean by that. If you go back and forth, generally it's going to snap to a straight line. Okay, so what you have to do is you got to be a little more strategic about it, and you've got to go, well, I just want to get this curve in place, and I got a straight line there. Let me try that again. This curve. No. Now, why is that not working for me? Let me try it again. Maybe it's just too subtle of a curve. Let me try something with a little more bend. But I want to show you how you would get the compounding curve. So there's that one. That snaps pretty nicely and pretty close to what I need. So you can get some of these curves like that. But yeah, it seems like if it's not significant enough, and there might be some adjustments for that, but you can see we can get that one right there. But what you might need to do is erase back portion. So I'll set this brush, the erase, to a similar inking pen so that I get a nice solid erase. And I'll erase back before the next bend so that I can now rotate this and pull this line the other way, snap to a bend. And sometimes you have to kind of tweak these a bit, maybe add to it on one side, erase on the other. But I think this helps out a lot of people that otherwise can't get these curves they're looking for. So you kind of have to sculpt the line a little bit. But to get your compounding curve, and forgive me if I'm slaughtering that, but I'm just saying a curve that goes one direction, then reverses, like an S hook or something. So you basically, anyone where they're curved in one kind of arc, that's pretty easy to do. And you can see you can really pick up speed with this because, again, these ones are easy. You can pull them right into place. But when you get to an area where it goes back to itself, or the curve is a little more slight, then you're just going to have to use speed as a guide. So what generally happens with inking or line making in general, if you make the line quicker, you're going to get a smoother line. So just keep that in mind, that some of this you're just going to have to get right. But what I found this to be very helpful for is when illustrating hair. Now, his hair isn't all that, wavy. Maybe it's not a good example, but let's try it. So if I go around through here, get that bend, hold, let go, bend the other way. So you can get those nice little, that's an S hook or whatever. So there's that. Thick to thin. I can just worry about the weight of the line, not the clarity, because I know that it's going to fix that clarity for me. Actually, that's not even part of the illustration there, but it's kind of this overlapping bow right there. So on and so forth. And every now and then it's skipping, which I think means I need to clean my tablet. I don't know. But yeah, so you see that it gets those lines pretty quickly. Now, again, something like that, I'm actually just going to ink by hand. But if you're doing this character with, big, wavy, voluptuous hair, this is really going to benefit you. And again, these areas right here where you really want this kind of perfect curvature, bam, instant, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So now, let's say that we've, kind of identified with some curves, how to compound those curves, making circles, distorting those circles. The other thing is this. All right, so the squares right here, we'll get to the power now. The squares are easy as can be as well. You throw in this imperfect square, try to make sure you go past your starting point. That's probably the most imperative part. It doesn't matter, you can go back and touch it up. And there's our kind of corrected square shape or rectangular shape. You can edit this. You can go to rectangle, polyline, quadrilateral. I must not have been close enough to get the square option. Let me see why, but let's say that we just want rectangle. We go to polyline. Obviously, polyline, we're going to be able to control these points and distort those right into place. So pretty effective since this is basically a distorted square anyways. But let's try it again, more forward facing. I actually drew it in a distortion. So let's see if we can get a square. Edit shape. There we go. There's our square. Just like that. So great for panel borders when you're, getting ready to lay out your comics and all that. Fantastic. You can get your squares, your ovals. It even recognizes triangular shapes. So for instance, boom, boom, boom. We all know what a triangle looks like. Edit shape, triangle, right there. So fantastic. So now the other thing is this, we want to get this power effect going, right? And I just want to show you kind of the quickest way that I would do it based upon the shape tool, because you kind of have to be a little bit strategic about the way you use this quick shape tool and implement it. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to do circle or ellipse, edit shape. I'm going to go with the ellipse. Or better yet, I'll just take it from a circle, and then I'll show you how I distort that with the control points. Or, let's go back to a circle. Let's take the transform tool, because I'm a little bit more savvy with this one. Now the way I would actually do this, I'm just going to do a portion of this, because this will show you that you can do a portion or you can do the whole thing. I'm actually going to lay this whole thing out forward facing. This entire power effect, and then I'm going to distort it right over top. And the reason why, that's exactly how I created what you're looking at. So what happens in digital art, a lot of times you just get used to creating things forward facing, like patterns and shapes and complex objects like this, and then distorting them, because what happens is you can save everything it took you to make it as a group. And that's what this is. I'd have to move it over to show you. So that's how I originally created it. And you see the edge got cropped off because I was working on it over here. Always move that to center first. But at any rate, I was still able to utilize it. So created all those pieces to the puzzle as a in a group, and then I can distort it into place. But you can also just distort, like what you've seen me done here, or do here. But the other portion is this. You really do want to do all this forward facing as much as possible in the pieces, because for instance, if I want to go back and add to this, now I got to redistort another circle. Now if I take this and I swipe over and duplicate it, let's see if I get it to line up with minimal effort. Go back to the selection tool and distort. Yeah, not too bad. that line is actually thicker than I want. So the other part about duplicating things, you're not controlling line thickness the way that you'd want. So for instance, I'm going to do a 3-finger swipe across, and I'm going to redraw the line. Again, I want to think about the pressure that I'm using to create the line, and I wanted to complete that circle. There we go. Edit shape, circle, grab the selection tool, distort into place. Because again, I just really want a thinner line around it. So you just got to be aware of that. So if you get in the habit of saying, well, copying and pasting is so much faster, it is, but you're going to lose your, your thought about line clarity or, line positioning definition based upon the design. You shouldn't give into that. Like if you want a thinner line, it makes sense in the design, go after that. And it's not too hard to do, as you can see right there. So ultimately, all of this can be done with this. I want to show you some of these other bits and pieces as well. So you might think, well, that's all I can do, circles, squares, triangles. No, it goes a lot further than that. You can even go something like this, hold, look at that. It actually skipped there. Don't look at that. Let's go back, and look at that. Can I say look at that now? Yeah. So see how it did that? It snapped right to that shape. So you kind of just have to be inventive with this. It works. Well, that turned into an oval. I don't know why I did that. Let's try it again. I think some of it is going to be dependent upon the size of the canvas, maybe. But you see both those shapes, nice and easy. So triangles, we already know that we were able to do that. Let's try another weird shape in here. Let's see if we can get a curve into. No, I think that's where it kind of stops right there. But let me try it again just to make sure. All right, well, it turned that first starting point from a curve to a straight line. So you just got to be aware of that. So you might just quickly throw in your curve and then get your 2 straight lines or your angle. Nice. And let's see if we can get this all in one shape. I think this would need to be 2. Yeah, so if we kind of combine curves and angles with the current settings I have, it doesn't really... Oh, wait, did this do it there? Turned into an oval there. Let's try again. I kind of retained it there. Yeah, so what I would probably do for speed is just throw in that straight line, then drop in the curve, hold for a second, it smooths out the curve. And that's it. I would really go around this. Now, again, I'm going to do all this forward facing in a group, and then I'm going to distort all that into place. And what it's going to do, it's going to save me time because it also gives me the information I need for the one over here. And really, that's the whole premise. Now with the buildings back here, I use a perspective tool. I think that's a 2-point perspective. Let's just check it real quick. So I didn't have anything else perspective-wise in here. And as you probably know, if you use this app, the perspective tool is fantastic. Let's go to drawing guide, edit drawing guide. Yeah, so I went with a 2-point perspective simply for those buildings within that scene or that panel right there. So again, nice and easy. I'm going to drop in the square, distort it into place, and I'm going to use the perspective guides to get into my buildings. And if you pay attention right there, who's that? That's my character Blackstone. I snuck him into this Doctor Strange piece. Pretty strange, huh, people? Oh well. It's my art, so I'm going to do what I want. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Hopefully this has shown you something. I'm sure you were probably already familiar with it if you knew this app, but it's an amazing tool. I really suggest you take full opportunity with it and see what you can come up with. So as always, I really appreciate you guys supporting and watching the channel. More content is on the way. I'm going to jump in and start inking this, so I'll share that video as well real soon. So keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.